The RTX 3070 is definitely one of the most popular cards since it was released. The only problem is it has 8GB of VRAM. And in 2023, VRAM seems to be a very hot topic. But should you get an RTX 3070 in 2023 for competitive 1440p gaming? Well, that's what we're here to find out. We're going to test this one out in Warzone, Apex Legends, Fortnite, Valorant, and PUBG, and try to see if this can handle 1440p high refresh gaming. And as always, boys, we're going to be testing this one out with our 5800 X3D rig, and we are using a second PC to record our gameplay, so there is no performance loss. We are using the latest drivers, NVIDIA drivers, as of today. Okay, let's start off with Call of Duty Modern Warfare synthetic benchmarks, and right off the bat, boys, we can see in here we are comparing 1440p compared to 1440p with quality DLSS, and there's a huge difference in terms of performance in here. Yeah, that's about 148 average FPS compared to 115. It's 29% more FPS and about 50%, 54% 1% lows. And one thing to remember in here, boys, with our comparison here, with any upscaling tick, it will require more CPU, and which is why we've got like about 22 more CPU usage on our 1440p DLSS. Let's go to real world benchmarks. Let's start off with Vondel. So this is the game right here. This is pretty smooth. Yep, it's quite good. Average FPS is 140, 1% lows above 100. We've got GPU clocks. GPU power in here is pretty good, like at around like above 200, around that mark. We've got CPUs pretty good, 72%. I mean 72 degrees Celsius, which is normal because we've got a 5800 X3D. This is a pretty smooth experience. Let's see how this one plays out in the Gulag at Vondel. In the Gulag, we've got the better 1% lows, of course, because it's a very tiny space. Average FPS probably gained a little bit in here, but this is pretty smooth. You can see we have the frame times in here. There's no stutters, there's no spikes, and you guys probably on the other end. There we go. Boom. Kill that guy. There's a little bit of micro stutter there, but that's totally negligible. Let's move on to Mazrah. Now, Mazrah, on the other hand, is quite different to Vondel, and this is why I'm showing it in here. You can see in here in our frame times, we've got a few stutters here and there, and this is pretty normal with Mazrah because we've got a very huge map with a lot of things happening. Let's look at some action scenes in here. I was shooting some guy around here. Pretty stable in this end. Average FPS obviously much lower than Vondel. 1% lows below 100, so about 82 FPS, 1% lows, and GPU clock still the same. GPU power more or less the same. VRAM, we are using 7.2 gigabytes of VRAM in here. Some stutters there. This is the Gulag. Let's see how this one plays out. Obviously we've got more or less the same as Vondel. So yeah, about better 1%, 1% lows, and average FPS the same. Right, there's literally no stutters here. I died, but yeah. Anyway, this is the late scene. So this is like late part of the game with a lot of action. That's why I want to show this one, because a lot of smokes, a lot of action, a lot of people all condensing into like a small area. We can still see. Look at that one. There was micro stutters in there from our frame times charts. Average FPS is still 130. We're dropping to 120 FPS there. 1% lows are 78. And if you like this type of video, boys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're about like 256 subscribers. Anyway, let's move on to the next game, Apex Legends. And here we go, Apex Legends. Right, we are at 4040p competitive settings. Alright, start off. And we've got some landscape shots here. Right, pretty good. Average FPS is 220. 1% lows is not far behind at 150, so that's pretty good spread in there. 0.1% lows is even like up there, like 129, which is pretty good. This is a pretty optimized DX11 game. Let's see some special effects here. Firing some shots there. We are only using 4 gigabytes of VRAM, and that's because we are using competitive settings, so it's not much. Although our CPU is about like 73 degrees, 74 degrees, that is fine. 5800 X3 days, maximum operating temperature is 90 degrees, which is okay. You can see the GPU power there, it's really pushing it, like 250 watts, boys, compared to our Warzone, which is only at 200 watts. So that's quite interesting. Yep, we are GPU bound in here, like with any. All right, let's try to shoot this guy. Yep, about 200 plus FPS roughly, with the 3070 in here. It's quite good, right? It's quite decent. 1440p competitive gaming. All right, let's have some action scenes in here, close range action scenes with some. Well, right, so it's pretty stable. Like, I think there will be one guy showing up in here. Here we go. Yeah, pretty stable, right? Pretty stable. Let's move on to our next game, Fortnite. Now, in here, there's only one way to play Fortnite competitively, and that will be through performance mode. And so we're playing using performance mode in here at 1440p because, yeah, this is what the video is all about, right? So average FPS right off the bat is about 540, 1% low is pretty good. Half of that is about 230, 240. We've got a little bit of frame, well, a few frame time spikes in here. This is just with Fortnite, but you can see with the frame times, it's quite smooth apart from those spikes, right? Let's have some action scenes. A couple of spikes there, and that's usually something to do with the servers. Really, this is, you know, and with the game itself, there are always those random spikes. GPU clock in here is still like, you know, got a couple of spikes there. 200, close to 200 once, yeah, 200. All right, so even though we're at performance mode and it's not GPU bound, because we've got like 50% utilization in GPU, still got those spikes, it's still going all the way up to 200 watts for our GPU power, which is fine. It's fine, I suppose. Let's see, so we are just against NPC, couple of NPCs here. Right, so it's quite good, quite good. Apart from the frame time spikes, which you will get regardless with Fortnite, it's generally smooth. Like a little bit of, you know, a few micro stutters there, but it is generally fine. Like I said, I can live with this one. The 1% lows is pretty good at 240, which is amazing. All right, let's have a couple of frame time spikes in there. Let's have some close range action here. Obviously, I'm not a good Fortnite player, boys. I try, but here we go. Try to shoot that guy there. But main thing in here, in this scene, we've got pretty stable frame times, which is what you need if you're, on those clutch moments. But yeah, let's move on to our next game, Valorant. And in here, we've got 1440p competitive settings, of course. Okay, let's start off with some synthetic benchmarks in here. We're trying to compare 1080p to 1440p, which I think is really interesting. Take a look at this one, boys. We've got lesser average FPS, but our 1% lows is much better at 1440p compared to 1080p. I thought this was like a bit odd initially, and I'll be running this one multiple times, still getting the same results. Heavy action scenes in here, similar thing. We've got lower average FPS, but much better 1% low. So if I was picking a setting, I would go with 1440p, because like that average FPS doesn't matter, but the 1% lows would matter. Alright, this is real world gameplay in here, like shot that guy. Now we got a little bit of spikes there, which is part of the game. Yep, a lot of effects in here. Generally, we got those micro stutters in there, and this is why I picked this scene, because we've got a lot of people in here and a lot of effects in here. Generally, it's fine. Like if there's nothing, you're just alone, it's fine. Right? We got, let's see, yeah, that guy, neon in there, boom, yeah, done. Obviously, I'm not putting the 1% or 0.1% lows metrics in here because of the effects and everything else, the abilities. It's just going to muck it up. So we're just going to look at this one, the raw FPS numbers. Once again, a lot of effects in here, pretty stable in here, mostly about 400 FPS, 500 FPS. You can reach that 300 in here, but it's generally fine. A lot of effects, a lot of things going on. Okay, the GPU power is about 150. As I'm saying, if you're just alone here and not a lot of people going on, you get like more stable frame times. Yeah, much more stable in here. I think I teleported to that side. Cool, GPU power about 180 in there. Our CPU is much cooler in here compared to our other games. There we go. Boom. I died. Okay, let's move on to our last game, which is PUBG. Same thing, competitive settings at DX11 enhanced, but we're at 1440p in here. Let's see how this one turns out. And this is one thing you've noticed with PUBG, we've got multiple spring time spikes in there, and this is pretty consistent throughout the game. This is the early part of the game, and I get a lot of these frame time spikes. Eventually, later part of the game, you've got like much less, but and it tends to be generally more stable. We do, yeah, you got that frame time spikes again in there. Average FPS around 200, 1% lows about 130. This is still a pretty smooth experience, boys, apart from those random frame time spikes. Our GPU power, look at that one, boys, 260. This is roughly the highest that we have throughout this gameplay in here. But God, I suck with this barrel. You definitely need a vertical foregrip for barrels. Okay, we've got some smokes in here, and it's still stable in the smoke. So 3070 is pretty good, actually. If you're gaming, competitively gaming, 4040p, it's actually quite good. You can see in here, we're in the blue zone, we're running. We had action scenes earlier. Pretty good. So yeah, that's our RTX 3070 and 1440p gameplay. Now, if you want to compare the 3070 to the RX 6700 XT, which is a lower tier card, we have a video of that one right here somewhere anyway. And if you like this type of technical analysis videos, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, boys. I'll see you guys in the next video.